Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Tenyi Yugioh deck profile for post Chaos Impact. Wanted to do an update to the Tenyi deck with the release of the new support we received in the Chaos Impact booster set. It's really awesome support. We finally got the Synchro for the Tenyi deck and a bunch of other different monsters for the main deck that overall just help with the consistency of the deck. What's great about the deck also is it's pretty budget. Nothing from the main deck is really too high a rarity or difficult to obtain, and I don't think there are any secret rares for the deck either, the highest rarity being an ultra rare, and that being comprised of most of the cards in the extra deck that you use. So definitely recommend it if you're looking for a fun deck that can easily special summon out a bunch of different Link and Synchro monsters onto the field. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So to start off, for the monsters, I run 3 Tenyi Spirit Ashuna with this one, and it shares this ability with a good amount of the Tenyi monsters. If you control no effect monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard to special summon 1 Tenyi monster from your deck, except Tenyi Spirit Ashuna. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except worm monsters. You can only use this effect of Tenyi Spirit Ashuna once per turn. But this option, it really is one of the best Tenyi monsters we got in the deck and released in Chaos Impact, just because it has an easy special summon for any of the Tenyi monsters in your deck onto the field, so you can adjust your plays or just get more and more monsters out after you use this card for the special summon, just by being able to banish it from the hand or graveyard. So you can set it up for one of your Link summon plays into one of your easy summonable Tenyi monsters, and then banish it from the graveyard for an additional special summon. So you really definitely have to run it at 3, since it's also very easy to set up in the graveyard with a lot of the spell and traps you run that send monsters to the graveyard from the main deck as well. And I also run 3 Tenyi Spirit Veshuda. With this one, if you control no effect monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, then target one card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. You can use this effect of Tenyi Spirit Veshuda once per turn. But the bounce effect definitely does come in handy. But it's another one of your level 7s, with our main Synchro monster being a level 8 Drago Berserker of the Tenyi, and our tuner being level 1. So having these level 7 monsters at high count just makes it that much more easier for us to have access to one of our main monsters we need, and then having the option to go into the Synchro play. But the bounce effect definitely does help to take care of a lot of different extra deck monsters our opponent may have that are easier just to bounce back to the extra deck than to destroy them and put them in the graveyard, where your opponent may be able to reuse them or one of their destruction effects. And I also run 3 Tenyi Spirit Shathana with this one. If you control no effect monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a face-up non-effect monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, then target one of those destroyed monsters, special summon it, then you can destroy one monster your opponent controls. You can only use each effect of Shathana once per turn. So all these Tenyi monsters that we've shown so far definitely do help just to keep your plays going, to disrupt your opponent's plays, and Shathana really does help with that as well, giving you the option for the banish from the hand or graveyard, and then getting one of your destroyed monsters and special summoning it. So very, very useful there, just to recover your resources. But the fact that you can also take care of one of your opponent's issues on the field is another added bonus for this card. And for the last of the 3 ofs for the main deck, Tenyi monsters, I also run 3 Tenyi Spirit Adara. If you control no effect monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. Like I said, they all share this effect, making it very easy to special summon out. And if you control face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, then target one of your banished worm monsters, except this card, add to your hand. You can use each effect of Tenyi Spirit Adara once per turn, along with being the easy recycle for your worm monster. Adara is also the tuner you'll use for your synchro plays in the deck. So you definitely need 3 of this just so you can keep your synchros consistent, but also being a resource on its own just for your Link plays is another added bonus for sure for this card. And then for the 1-ofs for the Tenyi monsters, I run 1 Tenyi Spirit Mapura and 1 Tenyi Spirit Nahata. With both of these, with Nahata, if you control, it has the special summon effect, and when an attack is declared involving your face-up non-effect monster and opponent's face-up monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard. That opponent's monster loses 1500 attack until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect of Nahata once per turn. So Nahata has the hand trap effect. It doesn't really help as much unless you obviously have it set up in your graveyard or your hand to use. So you want to remember over that with the plays. Other than that, you can also rely on it just for that, and also recycle it as well, so you really don't need more than one for that reason. And with Marissa, with this one having the special summon effect, and you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard to negate the activation when a non-effect monster on the field. And when a face-up effect monster you control, gives you that option as well. But once again, just like Nahata, it's situational for that card when your opponent activates a card or effect, and that targets it. So more protection depending on if your opponent is going after those monsters. But just one-ofs for each of them, since I said you can easily set them up in the graveyard to use when you need those effects. And then for the other one-ofs, I run one Mare. This one can easily be summoned out with Shaman of the Tenyi from your graveyard, which then you can use Mare's effects to gain you additional tokens on the field to use for your Link plays. And the same goes for Phantom Skyblaster. When it's normal or flip summon, you can special summon any number of Skyblaster tokens up to the number of monsters you control, giving you more and more resources for your Link plays. Phantom Skyblaster's at 1, and you really only need one Mare, since once again it's easy to set up this card since it is a worm monster in the graveyard also. And also, just to finish up for the monsters, for the hand traps, I run 3 Ash Blossom, just my favorite hand trap to use in the main deck because it can stop a lot of your opponent's plays depending on what they go for. And I also run the 2 Effect Veiler. I like Effect Veiler in this deck for the fact that it is also a tuner, just like Ash Blossom. But unlike Ash Blossom, it is a level 1 tuner, making it a little more usable for your synchro plays if you need be. Since Draco Berserker of the Tenyi just specifies you need 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner to making it so you can have your level 7. And if you need to use Effect Veiler, you have that option available to you as well. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Vessel for the Dragon Cycle. Send 1 Worm monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then you can, if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can add from your deck to your hand 1 Tenyi monster with a different name from the monster sent to the graveyard. You can only activate 1 Vessel for the Dragon Cycle per turn. And earlier, like I said, for the setup for either our Nahata or Marissa, very, very easily done with this spell. And then you get a search for a different one, which can be any of the main ones we run in the deck as well. Plus, you can also set up Mare in the graveyard for your special summon back onto the field of this card, so you don't have to end up drawing it. And the fact that if you have your setup on the field, it gives you the search as well, is all the more bonus, and definitely why you need 3 of this card in the deck. And I also run 2 of the field spell, which is Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi. All non-effect monsters on the field are unaffected by monster effects. And once per turn, if your opponent special summons effect monsters while you control a face-down monster or non-effect monster, except during the damage step, you can draw 2 cards. The draw power definitely does come in handy. I only run 2 of though in the deck. It doesn't have a search effect on the activation. You really just need this for the setup on the field to protect your cards. And then the added bonus for the draw power really only goes off when you get your plays. Any more than this, you really would be short some of the other monsters you could use for your plays into the extra deck, so I decided to keep it down to 2. If you wanted to run Terraforming, you can drop the number of Pot of Desires that I run to 2 and add in Terraforming instead. I have this in here. We have so many copies of a bunch of different monsters in the deck that you can rely on, that you can go for the draw power with this card and not have to worry about hitting anything too vital. And most of the time, I can have my graveyard set up with a bunch of other cards, thanks to cards like Vessel for the Dragon Cycle, before I even use Pot of Desire. So this card could just be an added bonus. But like I said, if you want to use the Terraforming for the Flawless Perfection search, you can drop the number of Pot of Desires down to 2 and put in a copy of that if you want to give that a try also. And also for these spells, I run 3 Call by the Grave. A setup in your graveyard can easily be Ash Blossom by your opponent, so Call by the Grave definitely does come in handy to make sure your plays go through. And also for some of the one-ofs, 1 Monster Reborn and 1 Foolish Burial, more setup in the graveyard and special summoning cards back onto the field. You could be 1 card short for a Link play or a Synchro play, you name it, so having these just are an added bonus as well. And that is it for these spells. We'll now move on to the traps. I run 3 Waterfall of Dragon Souls. Activate 1 of these effects. Add 1 Worm monster from your deck to your hand, or send any number of Worm monsters from your hand and or face up on the field to the graveyard to draw cards equal to the number of monsters you sent plus 1. So you have setup or search with this card, and draw power on the second effect as well, depending on what you send. Just if you have too many monsters on the field to use, I usually like to use this for the search because I can usually set this card, and then my opponent can either destroy it, and then I can activate it in a response, or just have that option at the end of my opponent's turn for a search, and then end up not having to draw that 1 Tenyi monster I may have needed to begin with anyway. And then lastly, for the traps, I also run 3 Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi. When a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated while you control a face-up non-effect monster, negate the activation. If this card is set you control is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 non-effect monster from your extra deck. So it gives you a link monster if it's destroyed, but also just being able to stop your opponent's cards just by, basically doing what the deck is meant to do. Very, very useful card along with your other trap setup and other cards you use, just extra protection along with the full-on power you can do with your Tenyi monsters. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 1 of the new Draco Masters of the Tenyi. Cannot be destroyed by battle with an effect monster. If you control no other effect monsters, you can destroy effect monsters your opponent controls up to the number of non-effect monsters you control, and or in your graveyard. You can only use this effect of Draco Masters of the Tenyi once per turn. Its arrows are what I love the best. It just needs 2 monsters, including a link monster, which can be easily done with this deck. So I definitely rely on this card a lot for its plays and just destruction power as well, which then I can easily set up a board from the extra deck using this card as the starter. And just needing, the 1 link monster means I can use the other Tenyi monsters I can easily swarm onto the field as well. I have 2 Monk of the Tenyi in here. I definitely wanted to run 3, just couldn't find my last one. So I would definitely take out the next card down to 1 instead of 2 for this card. It just needs 1 non-link Tenyi monster to make it. It does no other effect, just the down arrow, which helps for more setup from the extra deck and just putting more and more of your Tenyi monsters in the graveyard to use for their banish effects after you easily special summon them onto the field. So you definitely want to run 3 Monk of the Tenyi in the deck. The 2 I have that I would drop down to 1 is Berserker of the Tenyi. It's another vanilla Link 3. You need 2 or more monsters, including a Link monster. So just being able to make this with Monk of the Tenyi and then 2 other Tenyi monsters you have on the field. But once again, I want to drop this down to 2 and put in a 3rd copy of Monk of the Tenyi so I can have just more easier options and always have an extra deck option available to me usually when I play this deck. And I also run 2 Shaman of the Tenyi. You need 2 Worm monsters to make it, so you can use Mare or even its tokens. You can discard 1 card, then target 1 Worm monster in your graveyard to special summon it. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot activate effects of monsters special summoned from the extra deck except Tenyi monsters. When an attack is declared involving your face-up and non-effect monsters, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy it, and you can use each effect of Shaman of the Tenyi once per turn. Like I said before, this is your main card that can special summon Mare, because Mare needs its effect to be activated by the special summon of a Worm monster, and then you can get all the tokens you want on the field up to thrice per turn. Shaman just helps with the easy link plays as well, using it as the resources, and just another easy one to summon out with great arrows, just like our other Tenyi monsters. And then for a little more generic play, I run the 1 Link Karibo and the 1 Link Spider. These can easily be made with the tokens you make from Mare, just getting those normal monsters out. So then relying on those, or even just the Link 1 for your play into your Adara, can go into Link Karibo, but having this is usually here for the fact that I can make it with Mare, giving me more Link monster options from the extract for more monsters on the field. And with the Link arrows we can make using our Draco Masters of the Tenyi, that just means more and more monsters out from the extra deck to use. I also run 1 Landfornicus, being another non-effect monster. Definitely does help as well. And also 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and 1 Boral Sword for the rest of the Link monsters. And then for the synchros, I run 1 Boxia, Brightness of the Yangzing, and 1 Draco Berserker. I'd want a second Tenyi Draco Berserker in the deck. When your opponent's monster activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can banish it. If the attacking card destroys an effect monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's effect. So definitely having 2 Draco Berserker, since you're also limited to some of your Tenyi plays, is a big help for sure. So I would take out the Boxia, just because you're limited sometimes to the Worm plays also with this card, and have the 2 of that in the deck instead. But that is it for the deck profile. I know a lot of you have been asking for the Tenyi deck for a good while now, so glad I was finally able to finish it up and bring you all the deck profile. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.